I have a message for you guys. We're in part 5 of Strong Family, Strong Doctrine, and it's called Faith Without Works is Dead. Do you guys know what that means? Yeah? Well, we're going to find out together, okay? And it's really, really simple, but it's also one of the most deceptive things that are out there in Christian culture. So a lot of times people don't think faith can die, but I just told you how it could. How does faith die? When it stops having deeds attached to it. So, for example, how many of you guys believe that the Bible is the Word of God? Would you guys agree with that? Go ahead and raise your hand if you think that's true. All right, good job. Do you know when you stop believing that? When you stop reading it, yeah. Because the evidence that you believe that it's the Word of God is that you read it. Does that make sense? How many of you guys think that we're called to help those in need? Like you actually believe that you're called to meet those who are in need. Do you guys believe that? Do you guys know when you stop believing that? When you stop helping those in need. That's when you no longer believe it. Now, is it possible for you to say with your mouth, I believe we should help those in need? Absolutely. And it's one of the most deceptive things. Do you know how James talks about our tongue? He talks about it being set on fire, that hell has set it on fire. And so one of the things that Christianity and what we're called to is to be very careful with our tongues and to be very careful that we're not saying things about ourselves that aren't true, like getting the cart in front of the horse there. So one of the things that we're called to believe is that Jesus is Lord. And when do you stop believing that Jesus is Lord? Isn't that a good question? We'll get to that in a bit. All right. I was just listening. There was a famous guy just speaking about this passage, and he said that he brought up the wise builder and the foolish builder and building their house on the rock. And he said, and the rock is Jesus. And how many of you guys know that that's actually not true? Did you guys know that? That when you actually read the parable at the end of at the end of the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 7, I'm going to read it to you now just so we're all on the same page. It says, therefore everyone who hears these words of mine and acts upon them may be compared to a wise man who built his house upon the rock. Is the rock Jesus? No. The rock is the person's ability to do something with what it is they heard. I'll prove it to you here in a second, because it's the place that changes. It's not the man that's building, because both people are able to build, but the one builds on the right spot. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and burst against that house, and yet it did not fall, for it had been founded upon the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not act upon them will be like a foolish man who built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and burst against that house, and it fell with a great fall. So what changes in the story? The location of where the house is built. Both were builders, both built a house, but the location changes. And what's the main thing that's different between those who hear the words of mine, right? So therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and acts upon them is one, and everyone who hears these words of mine and does not act upon them is like the other. Your ability to not act upon the words of Jesus is what brings your house down. So are you guys all people who hear the words of Jesus? Right? I just read some to you. So here you are hearing the words of Jesus. Your ability to put those words into action is what will determine whether or not your house will fall down. Does that make sense? But what we try to do is we try to make every parable about non-Christians. So we're like, well, I'm a Christian, therefore I built my house upon the rock. That's not what it says. Well, they're not a Christian, therefore they built their house on the sand. That's not what the parable said. Everybody loves to put themselves outside of danger when it comes to parables and doesn't want to be warned. Every parable is a warning. And he's warning those who hear the words of Jesus, that's you and me, right? Matthew 12, 48 through 50. Says this, but he answered the one who was telling him and said, who is my mother and who are my brothers? And stretching out his hand towards his disciples, he said, behold, my mothers and brothers. For whoever does the will of my Father who is in heaven, he is my brother and sister and mother. Who is the mother, brother, and sisters of Jesus? Those who do the will. Is it those who claim to be with their mouths? Isn't that shocking? How important is it to do the will of God? Though doing the will of God proves that you believe that he is Lord. What's the evidence that you believe that he is Lord? Is that you do the will of the Father. Do you do the will of the Father? I don't know what the will of the Father is in your life, but I'm pretty sure it involves two things. Are you guys ready? Love God, love others. Now, it might manifest in a different way. That's why I love that ministry and what it is that you're doing. Does that sound like she's loving others? Sound like she has a call in her life, she's figured out that call, and has gone forward with it, and now people are being loved in specific ways. Isn't that cool? John 15:12-14, we see that this is my commandment, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, that one lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. And his command is simple. Do you know what it is? Love one another. So this is Christianity in action. Are you guys ready for this? That you would wake up and say, God, please help me to love people today. Please help me to love people today. Isn't that simple? It's simple, but how easy is it to not wake up and say that prayer? God, please help me today. Please make sure things go my way today. God, I hope I have a good day. The Bible calls us to trust God with our life and that we're supposed to lay down our life and show up for other people. That is the way. You guys ready for this next? This next parable is probably the heaviest hitting parable in the book, okay? So that's my apology before I read it. Matthew 25:40-45. And the king will answer and say to them, truly I say to you, to the extent that you did it to one of these brothers of mine, even the least of them, you did it to me. Then he will also say to those on his left, depart from me, accursed ones, into eternal fire, which has been prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not invite me in, naked, and you did not clothe me, sick and in prison, and you did not visit me. Then they themselves also will answer, saying, Lord, when did we see you in those ways? Do you know what the main problem here in this passage is? It's not that they didn't say Jesus was Lord, it's that they didn't believe in their heart that Jesus was Lord. How do we know they didn't believe in their heart? Because there was no deeds that followed the fact that they claimed that he was Lord. So they lived for themselves, claiming him to be Lord. So when it came time for judgment, do you guys know why we're judged for our deeds? Because our deeds are the evidence of what we believe in our heart. Did you guys ever ask that? Like, why don't, when we get up there to Judgment Day, he just say, okay, at this date and time, you receive Jesus Christ into your heart? Because it's not about receiving Jesus Christ into your heart, it's about believing he is Lord. Confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart. What's the evidence that you believe in your heart? The deeds. Are we saved by deeds? Don't you dare come up to me and say that. Are we saved by deeds? No. Deeds are the evidence. In the same way that blood is the evidence that there's a murder. Deeds are the evidence that something happened. Then he will answer them and say, truly I say to you, to the extent that you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me. And these will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life. Oh, that's just Jesus talking to non-believers and just letting them know, because they didn't say that Jesus prayer that one day, that it's not going to end well for them. That's not what the parable says. For you to believe that is ultimate deception. Do you know who heard the parables of Jesus? Those that followed him. Okay. So why am I saying all this to you? Because I'm saying, like, man, guys, we really need to be careful with our mouths. Even to say this, I believe that Jesus is Lord. For you to even say that with your mouth, you need to be careful, because what if your life doesn't say the same thing? I'm not saying we shouldn't declare Jesus is Lord. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, man, let's really make sure our lives declare that Jesus is Lord, and not just be settled with the fact that our mouths say it. So making sure that your life matches what your mouth is saying. Does everybody agree with that? Amen. You guys love these parables. I want to quit talking about it, but you guys just keep saying, give me those parables. James 1:25-27 says this, But the one who looks intently at the perfect law, the law of liberty, and abides by it, not having become a forgetful hearer, but an effectual doer, this man shall be blessed in what he does. Sounds like the guy who built his house on the rock. He sounded pretty blessed, didn't he? This guy sounds blessed too. He's become an effectual doer of what it is that he heard. If anyone thinks himself to be religious and yet does not bridle his tongue. Do you guys know what it means to bridle your tongue? Be careful with what it is you say, especially about yourself. I don't just mean talking down about yourself. I mean, I'm talking about the things that you say you believe. You be careful because you can deceive your own heart with your tongue. And once you deceive your own heart with your tongue, now you're in trouble. This man's religion is worthless. This is pure and undefiled religion in the sight of our God and Father, to visit orphans and widows in their distress. See, he brings up the least of these again, and he says, listen, there's people out there who can't take care of themselves, and they have needs. And this is pure and undefiled religion, that you would meet them where they're at, and that you would help them. And to keep oneself unstained from the world. Man, that sounds like such a simple message. Now, let me just say this about where we're at. I remember at the beginning of the year, Brian came to our church. I was going to take credit for your word, but it was your word. And Brian came and he said, this year's going to be a year of distractions. And I was like, we'll see, right? Well, then it was. And everything seems like it's getting worse and worse, and the news cycle seems like it's getting more extreme, more extreme, more extreme. Why? Because everybody loves a train wreck, and it draws your attention to it. And I said this in the first service, and I'll say it again. If what you're listening to isn't helping you love God and love others better, why are you listening to it? Are you going to build an opinion to do what with? Get a YouTube channel and share it with other people so they can have one too? And I'm being serious when I say this, like, because I'm not perfect, but I could get up here and sound really good, but I can waste my time. I can go down YouTube channels into the very depths of them, where if I was to speak what I heard, people would put me in a loony bin, right? Those things are designed for your attention. For us to focus our attention on something else besides what matters most would be silly right now during this time. It would be. Because what if we missed a visitation from the Lord? What if he wants to do something more? Right? And what Brian said at the beginning of the year, he said, but you'll receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you. Like, that should be our main concern. Do you have power or don't you? Do you have power to do something about the gospel or don't you? Because it's very easy to be entertained. At first, it was about being entertained. Now it's about being informed. And now we're not in the age of information anymore. We're in the age of misinformation now. And is it building Christ in you? Is it causing you to have more testimony in your life? Or do you have less testimony than you've ever had before? And if you do, what have you been giving your time to? And has that been building Christ in you? And I said this in the first service, I'll say it again. I prayed for Trump more than I prayed for Obama. Okay? And what if, let's say the inauguration takes place, right? And Joe Biden's our president. What if all Christians decide they're not going to pray for the president? Wouldn't that just be open season for the enemy to do whatever he wants to do? So if you prayed for Trump, the Bible commands you to pray for Biden. And I would probably do it harder than you did for Trump, to be honest with you. But then to not just have an opinion, because what if, and I'm sorry I'm getting political, but let me just say this. What if the left exists so strongly because the church didn't do its job? Do you know what I mean?
There it is.
So if we were doing our job, then there wouldn't be such a divide. But because, well, yeah, but I don't know. I don't know when it happened, and I don't know, like, as far as the downtrodden, like, we should be taking care of them, the orphans, the widows, those who've had abortions. Like if everything was being taken care of by the church, and the church had this sense of responsibility, then no party could wave the flag of, well, we're for them. Because the church would already be waving that flag and said, no, we already got it. But I'm convicted by what I just said. So I'll stop saying it. No, but I mean, there's a place to love people better. There is. There's ministries in the room that people haven't even conceived yet because we haven't decided to do better with what it is that He's been given, that's been given to us. And anyway. And the seed in the good soil. How many of you guys want to be a seed in the good soil? These are the ones who have heard the word. See, a lot of people are going to hear the word, right? But there's these specific ones that hear the word. Now listen. Heard the word in an honest and good heart. See, they're honest with themselves. I think that's what that means. It's like they're being honest with themselves. To be humble is a part of that, is being humble, is being honest. In an honest and good heart, and hold it fast, and bear fruit with perseverance. So they did something with what they heard, and they keep persevering to do it. Now, no one after lighting a lamp covers it over with a container or puts it under a bed. He puts it on a lampstand in order that those who come in may see the light. For nothing is hidden that shall not become evident, nor anything secret that shall not be known and come to light. The direction that you choose daily is going to come to light one day. You're going to end up in the destination of that place. If you're choosing God, you'll probably end up in that place. If you're not, you'll probably end up in a different one. Therefore, take care how you listen. For whoever has, to him shall be more be given. What if, just listen to me for a second. What if you decided to be about one thing, just one thing instead of 20 things? And what you heard and listened to were about that one thing. And because you were about one thing, you got really good at that one thing. And then He could trust you with more because you got really good with the one thing, instead of being about 20 things. Raphael is a artist in the Renaissance. He's one of my favorite painters. And by the age of 13, he was, as good as anybody because he was about one thing. And he did that one thing over and over and over again until he was a master at it. I think what the enemy tries to get us to do is spread us out thin across many things so we're not really great at anything. Does that make sense? I'll finish with this. It says this. What use is it, my brethren, if a man says he has faith but he has no works? Can that faith save him? That should grip us. Can I say that to you guys again? Are you guys ready for this? What use is it, my brethren, if a man says he has faith but he has no works? Can that faith save him? There are works that God has destined you to do. You and him are going to do some works together on the earth. If a brother or sister is without clothing and in need of daily food, and one of you says to them, go in peace, be warmed, and be filled, and yet do not give them what is necessary for their body, what use is that? It's basically saying, I'll be praying for you. I see you there, you're naked, you'll probably get fined here soon, but I'll be praying for you. That somebody clothe you and that somebody feed you. Well, I'll be praying. Even so, faith, if it has no works, is dead being by itself. Faith cannot exist without the existence of it manifesting through works. If I was to ask you, how much do you love God? I'd have to look at your life to find that out. Do you guys get that? I'm not going to sit here and have you tell me how much you love God. We'd have to look at your life and to determine how much you love God. Do you guys see how easy it is to be deceived in your own relationship with the Lord? You love God to the degree that you love other people. That's how much you love God. And one day that's going to be made plain and evident. So I'm going to pray that we would be shaken away from our own deception. How's that sound? And I'm not above this. I mean, if anybody should get a pass, shouldn't it be the pastor? Shouldn't he be just like, I'm a pastor? I don't get a free pass. I get a double judgment, according to James, right? So I want to make sure that I'm living out what it is that I say I believe. And especially during this time, if what we're watching and paying attention to isn't building what it is we need to do, maybe we should consider not doing it. So let's pray. Father, we thank you. Holy Spirit, thank you for conviction. We don't want to be deceived by our own tongue, as it warns in James. We want to be that person that builds on solid ground. We want to be the person, we want to be the sheep, not the goats, Lord. And thank you for these warnings. And the reason why you gave us warnings is because there's real danger. So I'm asking right now in Jesus' name that if there's been any self-deception, that would be just revealed to our own hearts, that we'd be able to see ourselves clearly. If there's people that we're called to love and we're not doing it, Lord, would you convict us in those moments? The last thing I'd ever want to do is be like the Pharisees, who just completely continued to fill themselves with knowledge and get puffed up. And they didn't express that knowledge through love. And they missed what it is that you came to do. And then they led others astray through their information as opposed to their life lived. We don't want to be a church of information. We want to be a place where people see your glory demonstrated through people who have laid down their own lives and are loving people and are able to love those that are in front of them. We need help, God. We are so used to living for ourselves, sometimes we're blind to it. Holy Spirit, will you wake us up? In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. All right, bless you guys. Have a great Sunday.